Hey YouTube, it's Zach Hall back with my D&D 5th Edition Dungeon Master Learns Pathfinder Second Edition video series. In the last video, we started classes, the class section, chapter 3 in the core rulebook, before realizing just how big of a chapter it was, and try to keep these videos around the hour-long mark max. And so we obviously couldn't do all 12 classes in one video. So what we ended up doing in the last video was just looking at the Alchemist as a class in and of itself to kind of get a feel for how classes are laid out in Pathfinder Second Edition. Even kind of went through the basics of putting in some of the character sheet stuff. I don't think I did it 100% correctly, but it was enough to kind of get a feel for how feats work, how choosing class abilities work, and the very basics of ability scores and kind of how they all work together with your class abilities. Totally makes sense. I'm really excited about the expanded character options in Pathfinder. It's a huge reason why I'm looking at the system in general, beyond what 5th edition, just basic everything that Wizards of the Coast offers. So today we're going to try to get through as many of the other classes as we can. It's not going to be nearly as in-depth as the previous video. We're just going to read through some of the content you can see on screen. I don't even have don't even really have any notes to take or a character sheet open. We're just going to look at the material. So this is not a linked PDF. Paizo. So let's, and I'm in full screen, so we'll scroll to the 60s for chapter 3. Yeah, so here's our classes. So we looked at the Alchemist, and I forget what's next. Barbarian. Okay, so we're gonna hit these pretty quick. I'd love to try to do all the other classes in one video so that we can then keep moving and try to figure out a little bit more about the game system itself. And I want to reiterate, in case this is the only video that you end up watching for some reason, and I've said it in previous videos, this is not the optimal way to learn a game system, going from front cover to back cover. Doing this for the content, because I'm putting these videos out on YouTube. There are quicker and faster ways to just learn the system. This is a 5th edition. The only D20 system that I've played is D&D 5th edition. I think there's a lot of people like that out there in the world. And maybe you heard about Paizo releasing a brand new edition for Pathfinder, and you don't even really know what the difference is. I'm hoping this video series is helpful for those folks, while also it's keeping me on a schedule so that I can attempt to learn the system myself and hopefully run a game in the future. Okay, Barbarian. Duh, strength. Makes sense. You get an ability boost to strength. 12 plus your con modifier. So 12 is the biggest hit points bonus that we've seen. I think Alchemist only got 8. Which makes sense. During combat encounters, you summon your rage and rush to the front lines to smash your way through. Offense is your best defense. You'll need to drop foes before they can exploit your relatively low defenses. Love that Paizo in the rulebook is calling this out on the intro page to Barbarian, because I can't tell you how many times I've seen 5th edition players think that a Barbarian is going to be this like tank that can sit in the front lines and just swing a big axe or sword twice around, and it's not going to be easy to take them down. Now, it's obvious that Barbarians are probably going to end up with the most hit points out of anybody, but since there's no rolling with hit points, just rules as written, everybody just gets to add a set amount of hit points. It's not like you're rolling 1d12 like you would in 5th edition. You're just getting 12. The disparity between hit points is not going to be as important as the difference in proficiency in armor, I'm thinking. So your Barbarians are your damage dealers, not necessarily your defensive tanks. that would probably be more like champions and fighters that focus on that. And maybe there's some feats that allow a barbarian to kind of become that defensive person, but they're frontline damage, not a tank. And I see that frustration in 5th edition, and I see DMs try to fix that by offering, like, you know, bracers of defense or rings of defense to try to boost the barbarian's armor class, when really once you start doing, I mean, totally fine if you end up giving the party that and they opt it to the barbarian, but if you just kind of give barbarians boosts to armor class that they aren't really supposed to have, you're going to end up with exactly what people think a barbarian is, a huge damage dealer that is impossible to take down, when really I like Paizo just calling out, you're going to be able to do the most damage, but it's going to be easy for folks to hit you. So you got to, you know, it's a give and take situation. During social encounters, you use intimidation to get what you need, especially when gentler persuasion can't get the job done. Makes sense. And giving you roleplay keys right out of the bat of like, hey, if you want to be a barbarian, like you're probably going to flex your muscles and intimidate some folks. While exploring, you look out for danger, ready to rush headfirst into battle in an instant. You climb the challenging rock wall and drop a rope for others to follow, and you wade into risky currents to reach the hidden switch beneath the water surface. If something needs breaking, you're up to the task. So the barbarian seems like it's really supposed to be like you look at a thing and you go, how are we going to get past that? And the barbarian is just going to be the guy that like runs past it or busts through it or climbs over it. Trained in athletics, which is, yeah, makes sense. In downtime, you might head to a cavern to carouse, build up a fearsome legend of your mighty deeds, or recruit followers to become a warlord in your own right. Okay. Loving that. The idea of recruiting followers, I mean, that would be dope. Cool to hopefully see rules for recruiting followers and stuff like that. You might have a deep-seated well of anger, hatred, or frustration. Prefer a straightforward approach to one requiring patience and tedium. Engage in a regimen of intense physical fitness and punch anyone who says this conflicts with your distaste for patience and tedium. That's funny. That's awesome. Others probably rely on your courage and your strength and trust that you can hold your own in a fight. See you as uncivilized or a boorish lout unfit for high society. Believe that you are loyal to your friends and allies and will never relent until the fight is done. I love the setup of this intro. It's so smart. It gives players exactly what they need to know without even really going into the mechanics of the class. Expert in perception, expert in fortitude saves, trained in reflex saves, expert in will saves. Interesting. So they're really downplaying dex, and because dex does have an impact on your armor class, and so you're there by giving you expert in 2 other saving throws, but only trained in reflex. You're saying, hey, these are the other 2 important things. Expert in will also kind of reflects probably like mental saves of like, I wonder if there's a mechanical thing giving you, we haven't even seen advantage. I'm assuming there's probably not even a mechanic in Pathfinder. They give more like +1, +2 circumstantial bonuses as opposed to advantage, which is super simple to use in 5th edition and is very easy to explain to new players, but probably there is an over-reliance on it in 5th edition. Skills, trained in athletics, and then a number equal to 3 plus your intelligence modifier. It's probably not a ton of skills, since intelligence is generally usually a barbarian's lowest. But we'll see. I mean, it totally depends on how you want to handle it. Attacks, you're trained in simple, martial, and unarmed. Defenses, only trained in light and medium armor, and trained in unarmored, and then trained in barbarian class DC. So let's take a look at, okay, here's rage. Barbarian, concentrate, emotion, mental. And you can't be fatigued or already raging. Yeah. Single action, you tap into your inner fury and begin raging. You gain a number of temporary hit points equal to your level plus your constitution mod. That's crazy. So we were just talking about that hit point disparity. That will grow when you're raging, which is cool. Frenzy lasts for a minute until there are no enemies you can perceive. Interesting. Or you fall unconscious, whichever comes first. You can't voluntarily stop raging. That should be highlighted, bolded, italicized, put in different font. Because that can be fun, but I don't even have to look at 5th edition to see if you can voluntarily get out of rage. I feel like a lot of folks just kind of assume in a role-playing style, you stop raging when you're done. When you're done with an encounter, but maybe not. You deal 2 additional damage with melee weapons and unarmed attacks. This additional damage is halved if your weapon or unarmed attack is agile. So they do want you to focus on bigger, heavier weapons and not going by reducing the rage damage that you do if you're using an agile weapon, which I'm assuming is maybe something like a finesse weapon in 5th edition. They really want you focused on strength and not quickness. And you take a -1 penalty to AC. Love it, because, and again, it's the trade-offs. You're going to get some extra hit points. You're going to get some extra damage, but you're going to be easier to hit. And I think that's good. I think that's a good reflection of what rage is, the gives and the takes. You can't use actions with the concentrate trait. That's hard to say. The concentrate trait, unless they also have the rage trait. You can seek while raging. After you stop raging, you lose any remaining temporary hit points from rage, and you can't rage again for 1 minute. Beautiful. You get an instinct, a dominant instinct, one you learn from a tradition and one that comes naturally to you. Your instinct gives you an ability, requires you to avoid certain behaviors, and grants you increased damage and resistances at higher levels. It allows you to select feats. So your instinct is okay, like a subclass in 5th edition. 3rd level, deny advantage. Your foes struggle to pass your defenses. You aren't flat-footed to hidden, undetected, or flanking creatures your level or lower using surprise attack. However, they can still help their allies flank. Okay. Brutality, 5th level. Your fury makes your weapons lethal. Okay, this art. Oh, I love, like obviously, like this, I'm assuming it's a woman based on girl armor, like having an exposed midriff but covered chest, covered limbs, but they gotta show the midriff, which is kind of, whatever. But love just the fact that she is obviously like strong and built by the way she's like wielding this huge anime sword, but it's not like, I feel like so many people think of like a Goliath barbarian, but I need some gnome barbarians out there, gang. Halfling barbarians, why not? Brutality. Your proficiency ranks for simple martial weapons and unarmed attacks increase to expert at 5th level. And then when raging, you gain access to the critical specialization effects for melee weapons and unarmed attacks. Cool. Juggernaut. Proficiency rank for fortitude saves increases to master. And whenever you roll a success on a fortitude save, you get a critical success instead. 7, you get an additional 2 damage, in which you have expert, 3 if you're master, 4 if you're legendary. So that's on top. So if you're a master trained in that weapon, which you would be after No expert because that you got from Brutality. But if through, other skill, blah, 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 get 3 if you're a master rank, which is great. So 4, 5, or 6 total from the original raged image. So you do end up getting like a lightning reflexes. So you get expert, but which is interesting. They've really seemed to be downplaying the dexterous side of a barbarian, opting more for like just heavy hitters, tank, not in an MMO version of tank, but like just a slow moving, heavy hitting kind of guy person. But it's interesting that they end up kind of giving you some dexterity style stuff. Interesting. When raging, you gain resistance equal to 3 plus your con mod to damage types based on your instinct. Wow. 11th, you get Mighty Rage. It's a free action as long as you used. So when you choose to go into a rage, you can choose to go into a Mighty Rage. So it seems like once we see rage actions, you can basically, Mighty Rage lets you use them. It seems like a mechanical thing that allows you to do Rage 2, like stuff with the Rage 2 trait as a 2 action activity, and before level 11 you weren't able to before. Okay. Legendary Fortitude saves, no crit fails, and you take half damage even on fails. It's dope. Medium armor expertise at 13. Proficiency rank goes up to master at 13. So so once that happens, you are adding your rage. You're adding at least a point to your rage. This is an interesting of tying your rage bonus to your weapon specialization, so that it's kind of like built in without having to just say at level 13 this damage increases to 3. It's tied to something else in the mechanics, but it's essentially what it is. Wow. And then that weapon specialization goes up again. Will saves to master. Proficiency rank for perception increases to master. You recover from your rage quickly and can, after you spend a full turn without raging, you can rage again. Instead of a minute, you just a full turn. Armor Fury, your proficiency ranks for light armor, medium armor increase to master, but that doesn't happen until 19th level. Devastator. Proficiency rank goes to master for your class DC, and your melee strikes ignore 10 points of creature resistance. It's dope. Okay, instincts. Animal instinct looks like you get some kind of okay, so if you want to go unarmed, like an unarmed barbarian, this gives you a legit option of doing that. You just pick what kind of animal instinct you have, and it also comes with special traits. It's dope. Super cool. I feel like that would be pretty easy to kind of port over as a subclass for 5th edition. I feel like you could totally do that if it hasn't already been done. When you rage, yeah, in the brawling group, the damage dice for the unarmed attacks increase the damage dice size for the unarmed attacks granted by your chosen animal by 1 step. Increase the additional damage from range to 2 to 5. I don't know what level that's at, but basically giving you, since you're not using weapons, it's giving you additional damage to make sure you're on track with everything else. A frog tongue attack. Okay. So you could be Toad from X-Men as a barbarian. Does your... I have so many questions. YouTube. But I love it. All right, Dragon Instinct, moving along. Yeah, we gotta do this quicker. Pick a dragon type, and you get access to Breath Weapon. Either a line of a type or a cone of type. Cool. Increase your rage damage, and you can change its damage type to match your dragon's breath weapon instead of the damage type of your weapon or unarmed attack. If you do this, action gains the arcane and evocation traits, as well as the trait matching the damage type. That's pretty cool. Cool. Fury Instinct. You get an additional, instead of like an instinct ability, you just get an additional feat at first level, and your rage bonus just seems to go up faster than everything else. And eventually resistance to physical weapon damage. Physical weapon damage, but not stuff like unarmed attacks. Okay. Giant Instinct. Oh, hang on. We got to go back and read this anathemas. So you have something that you can't do. Flagrantly disrespecting an animal of your chosen kind is an anathema to your instinct, as is using weapons while raging. So you can't use weapons while raging while an animal instinct, and you need to be respectful. Like if you're a wolf instinct, if you come across a pack of wolves, you've got to respect them. Interesting. Do you get proficiency in like animal handling? Is there something like that? No. But probably a smart skill to get. For dragons, letting a personal insult against you slide. Choose whether your character respects or abhors your dragon type. If you respect it, defying such a dragon is an anathema. And if you abhor it, failing to defeat such a dragon you come across is an anathema. Very cool. For Fury, you don't have an anathema. Giant, failing to face a personal challenge of strength is an anathema. That makes sense. Titan Mauler gives you weapon built. You can use a weapon built for a large creature if you are small or medium. And then if you're not small or medium, you can use a weapon built for a creature one size larger than you. And then you gain access to those. It has the normal price and weapon for a price and bulk for a weapon its size. And then when wielding one of those weapons, your rage damage goes from 2 to 6. But you have the clumsy 1 condition, which we don't know, but because your weapon's unwieldy size. And you can't ignore that condition or ignore the penalties by any means. Cool. Spirit. You are haunted by the specter of an ancestor, relative, friend, or foe. Your rage takes the form of a spiritual possession. That's dope. Like your dead brother haunts you. Maybe you speak to him and you call his name out when rushing into battle, and your brother's spirit inhabits your body and gives you supernatural speed and damage. Disrespecting corpses or spirits is an anathema. Defending yourself against undead creatures is not. Yeah, that's probably a good thing. Spirit Raging, you immediately get a bonus. And you deal negative or positive damage instead of normal damage type. Oh, okay, it must be a damage type. If you choose to deal negative or positive damage, your weapon or unarmed attack gains the effects of the Ghost Touch property rune, which makes it more effective against incorporeal creatures, and your rage action gains the Divine and Necromancy traits. Okay. Specialization ability when using Spirit Rage. Choose the damage from Rage 3 to 7. Okay. You resist negative damage, as well as damage dealt by all the attacks and abilities of undead creatures, regardless of damage type. That's dope. Okay. Feats. Then so we're approaching 30 minutes. What I'm probably going to do is just do one video for each class. And maybe I will release them as quickly as possible. And it'll just be a little bit shorter than the other ones. Acute Vision, Moment of Clarity. Okay, so if you want to use a Concentrate ability while raging, you can take this feat and it allows you to do that for that one turn. Allows you to intimidate or demoralize and scare to death while raging. Thrown weapons become deadly. Sudden charge. Stride twice. If you end your movement within melee reach of at least one enemy, you can make a melee strike against that enemy. Acute Scent. Ferocious Finish. Okay. So it's like a final move, but it breaks you out of your rage. Damage equal to the number of rounds remaining in your rage. Interesting. To a maximum of 10. Yeah, because that would be your minute. So that's cool. Like, if you know, that would be really cool. Like, you're in a one-on-one fight and you just want to finish this guy. You can rage. You could rage as an action. Sudden charge is 2 actions. But you could rage and then Furious Finish. You get a reaction. You can move up to your speed following a foe, keeping it in reach throughout its movement. Up to your speed as a reaction. Nice. So you can do a second wind, but then you're fatigued. So you can do a second rage right off of your first one. Cool. Combo that with Furious Finish. Shake it off. Overcoming fear and fighting back sickness. Reduce your frightened condition by 1. And you can attempt Fortitude save. Cool. Fast movement, Raging Athlete. Swipe. Make a single melee strike and compare the attack roll to the ACs of up to 2 foes. And they have to be adjacent to one another. Roll damage only once and apply it to each creature you hit. And it counts as 2 attacks for your multiple attack penalty. Interesting. Okay. Wind range, animal skin, attack of opportunity, brutal bully. So it's reinforcing that attack of opportunity is not just a default thing that you can do in Pathfinder. It is staying in frame, but while keeping decent posture. It is a feat that you have to get, which is great. When raging, you deal bludgeoning damage equal to your strength modifier. Love it. That's great. You can cleave through people. Dragon Instinct. And then there are some feats that are specific to your instinct. Looks like specifically around at the 6th level, you start getting access. Okay. That's cool. You can freaking fly. Gang. Is this just better? Is this just better than 5th edition? Is it? I don't know. I'm just saying. These are so cool. So cool. Okay. We're back. Petter's Pounce. So 12th level, you get some more kind of instinct-specific feats. This is a badass Barbarian. Love him. Whirlwind Strike. You attack all nearby enemies. Vicious Evisceration. Quaking Stomp. Dragon Transformation. You can transform into a ferocious, large dragon, YouTube. What are we doing? Why is everybody not playing Dragon Instinct Barbarians? They're freaking cool. All right, well, that's the Barbarian class. That's the Barbarian class of Pathfinder Second Edition. Really, 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 really freaking cool. Really cool. I promised myself I wasn't, like, the point of this was to compare 5th edition to Pathfinder 2nd edition. Of course it was. It's not for everybody. And we haven't even gotten into, like, the big mechanics of, like, the crunchiness of the game. But just looking at the class options, they just don't really even compare. I don't even know. Like, I didn't mean to, like, turn this into, like, a bashing 5th edition thing. And I don't think I am. I'm just saying, if you're someone who spends an hour and a half on the character creation screen in Divinity Original Sin, you might enjoy this better. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, go ahead and leave us a like. If you're looking forward to the rest of this content, why not hit that subscribe button down below and maybe even ring that bell so you get notified whenever a new video in my series, Dungeon Master 5th Edition, Learns Pathfinder 2nd Edition. You can get a notification whenever a new video goes up. I'm going to be doing shorter 30-minute videos reviewing all 10 classes after this. I'm going to try to still knock them out really quickly, though, so that we're not having to wait before we get into the rest of this rulebook's contents. But to be fair, it's a 600-page book. We probably should have known that it was going to take a while to do this anyway. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, you can hit me up in the comments to this video, or you can reach out to me on Twitter at @ZachHall_. Thanks for watching. See you next time.